morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the CFA Mega Demo and welcome to Sika station. I would like that you can spread over the two slabs because the first part will be, actually we'll be using a part of these two slabs. So you can come over here and just you will see better. Please don't hesitate. Okay, we will have Sika session will be into a separate session actually. We will have this morning session, all this group all together, and then at midday we will have two groups. The first session we want to mention to you about is you will see today some very good concrete practice. How to make the concrete quality good, floor flatness, also some varnishing, giving some glossiness. But as you know, concrete can have high mechanical strength, but there is also some limitation. Sometimes you need an additional coating, additional sealing material. For what reason? For mechanical performance, for chemical resistance, dust resistance, many other reasons to use a coating. So when we have a concrete like this, a good quality concrete, we have to check if the quality of the concrete is good enough to apply a coating. So what we need, first, no good job is no good tools. This is what we recommend to our flooring applicators team to have. This is actually summarizing all the tools which are needed for doing a proper coating application, flooring application. This is in terms of mixing, in terms of application, but also some measurement to check the quality of the concrete, mechanical and moisture content. So, and we have to check the temperature outside, humidity, all these conditions. I'm going to come to this later, that what is very important is how much moisture is in your concrete. You have to check the data sheet and they tell you what is the maximum limit. This concrete is only casted Monday, only 3 days. This is the moisture content, is over 6%, far over 6%. Okay? So, if you want to apply a coating, you have to make sure that the product accepts this high moisture. If not, there is a way to still apply something. We have to use some intermediate coat. We're going to show you this later today. So, the moisture is very important. The mechanical performance. Okay, what our coating, flooring materials, they need to have a very good bond to the substrate. If the concrete is initially like this, it looks good, but on the surface you have some weakness. And then the day after, you look whether you have humidity below. If you have humidity below, it means you have rising moisture. And if you do have this, then be careful. Do not apply directly the epoxy. Either you wait that you have no more of this problem, you wait longer, or you can go with some other steps that we will show you later. So for example, we remove the tape. In this case, there should not be much because we have a plastic sheet below the concrete. So even though the concrete moisture is still high, there is no rising moisture. But I tell you, if you have really the case on the job site, you can see very nicely. Okay? So this type of tests are very important to make sure that the flooring will last for the long time. Okay? So having this condition tested by the applicator, Sika technician can be involved whenever is needed. Alright, so this is in terms of preparation. When it comes to coating, we will show you some relatively complex and beautiful system later on. But we can go with already coating that give you at a very good economical price already some certain aesthetic. And I will let Stefan of Sika Thailand to mention this coating system.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Good morning all together. My name is Stefan. Actually, I'm in charge of the flooring here for Sika Thailand. I would like to introduce you a system which is Sika code basically. Later on, you will see in the after or in the lunch session, you will see actually the application of a really moisture barrier as well as for self-leveling epoxy type. So, you see here two different colors applied already. The application has been done 2 days ago. You see a which provides a very good adhesion to very smooth surface like what you find usually on floor hardeners. So, because the problem normally, if you apply a coating on a floor hardener, you would have to do a very proper surface preparation either by diamond grinding or diamond grinding would be best, which is also relatively expensive. Here, the advantage lies basically in the surface preparation, that you need just a slightly sanding with a fine sanding paper, type of between 100 or 150, very fine one. Actually, you see the surface has been prepared here. So this one is sufficient enough to apply the coating here. We will do an application now. We will show how it is applied. So you see here, we will apply here. Actually, you will see the one part has been applied yesterday or 2 days ago, and now the one which represents actually the first coat. So you will see actually one application step now to shorten the time. How it looks after it is applied the second coat and the first coat. Usually, typically, you apply 2 coats and then the system provides the full performance after a curing time of 3 days. The other advantage of this kind of hybrid system is compared to epoxies or polyurethanes, it is very moist tolerant. So you see, we are the concrete have been cast in on Monday. Today is Thursday, and we have applied actually right the next day on Tuesday the coating already, which is actually normally we recommend we should apply after 3 days, but in order to show you this, we have to do it after 1 day. But it confirms that the good moisture tolerance of the product. It can be applied like what you see here by roller. It also, if you want to have a nice appearance, there's another alternative which we could not show here, but it could be applied by spray. So by spray, you can get a very, very beautiful, nice, smooth finish. So where could we apply this kind of systems? As I mentioned before, the advantage lies in the surface preparation, just sanding, so low cost surface preparation, and then it can be applied on a totally smooth surface. Means we see a good opportunity to upgrade all your existing floor hardener floors. Think about warehouses Most of the warehouses are equipped with floor area because they just provide a good impact resistance and a hardness sufficient enough. You may not need a good chemical resistance. Even if you need a good chemical resistance, the product also provides, of course, a higher chemical resistance compared to normal concrete. So to summarize, the advantage, improved abrasion resistance, dust proofing, easy to apply even on moist, on relative high moist concrete, and it is also possible to apply outdoor. You may have some areas which is outdoor, so you need a UV resistant coating. So this is UV resistant. Okay. So here, let's move here a little bit, maybe with the camera, on this small area here. This small area shows actually an area which we have prepared by very good grinding, with a diamond grinding tool. You see even the aggregates visible now. Here, you see even the aggregates visible. So this is actually a very good surface preparation. And on the other hand, if you apply now the Sika coat, the name is Sika Floor Palisade Pro Transparent, you will get a nice seal, and you still keep the UN also Sika Floor Palisade Pro. Actually, the consistency of the coating is similar. The only difference is the pigment. It is available in few standard colors, on 8 standard colors at the moment. Actually, technically, it would be possible to provide more colors. At the moment, we start with some standard colors. So also here you will see now the application on this concretes prepared by sandpaper before, as well as this second coat on top of the first coat from the day before. Performance-wise, it is similar. It is also UV resistant, also good abrasion resistant. Can be applied on relatively moist tolerant, let's say. And
this is the first coating we wanted to show you, the economical system. If you want to enhance the property of a plain concrete, whether it's an existing concrete that you want to refurbish, or it can be a new concrete in some production area. So I believe, Jan, we're gonna go soon to the next step. Have you got any questions? I know we are in a big group, but you may have any questions.
Okay, the question was how long is the waiting time before we can use the floor? Actually, if you apply it today, the next day you can walk on it, but it does not mean it will provide the full performance, the heavy duty performance you cannot do with that, but you can walk on it the next day. As I said before, it is fully cured after 3 days. That means after 3 days you have the full performance of the product.
How many colors?
At the moment we have limited amount of colors, 8 colors, but technically it is possible to have different more colors available, which we probably will have in the future. Any other questions?
I want to come back to these few tools. When we do this type of material, I really insist that you have to strictly follow the instruction given in the product data sheet. And those products, they have a limited time to be applied. And it depends on the temperature and on the humidity of the air and obviously of the substrate. So what is very important is also to check the temperature of the concrete. You check the humidity level in the air, and then you have to check what is the dew point. I don't know how you translate it in Thai, the dew point. So this dew point is very important. We have a small tool. This is like a small scale. You put what is the temperature of the substrate, what is the temperature of the air and the humidity, and you have directly the temperature of the substrate, which is critical to have a dew point. If you have a humidity on the surface because of the moisture, you have no bonding of the coating. So those are very key factors to condition the quality of the coating and the durability of the coating.
Okay. So, what we are doing is the application of the mini project. This project will be applied at the rate of around 3 kilos per square meter. This is actually the lower definition that we generally recommend. Typically 3 to 5 kilos are the process of turning and then releasing this 3 kilos to 2 quantity. This material comes in different colors. This one is a natural gray color. You have pigment if you want to. It makes it more expensive, but it is expensive. So this is the mineral side. We see the cell side. You may go for some synthesis or metallic color if you want even higher abrasion. What we learned today, we show you all day long how to make the concrete looking very good, very flat. But using this tool, using this laser plate, using all the tools, it's not incompatible with using the writing control. It's very common to use writing all over the world, and in Asia, Southeast Asia in particular, it's been very common. So what we try to demonstrate today is some even better practice, but what you know already with writing is obviously still valid. So you have to let the moisture of the concrete to hydrate those white are a mixture of sand, of particulars. When sand and also sand, and eventually different. On the other side, what is used in channel pipe. Channel pipe is used to strike a small function ridges on the concrete. All parts of the process in a very flat wall. We are going to continue on that in the project. I think it's been very commonly used because one of the advantages is that you can control the thickness to taking exactly the consumption. And with dry tape, you know exactly
from the time you know how much you have applied, you know how much thickness you have used. So this is one of the advantages of the dry-mix material, is that you have really all this thickness of hard material. And even very, very hard material if you are using the metallic one, for example. A product that is a problem solver. In case you have really difficulties on the project because of high moisture, then you may have to use this material, which proved for 25 years to be a problem solver. What problem? We mentioned about high humidity in the concrete is a problem if you need to have an epoxy. This is the finished material applied yesterday. This is supposed to be maybe in a factory where the manufacturer maybe food, maybe pharmaceutical, high-end factory. So to have this good quality floor, you need all the proper steps. One of the proper steps is of course the surface preparation. And then after the surface preparation, which I have to admit here is a bit too light. We should have gone to a little bit deeper preparation by shot blasting. Then is to check the moisture. Here, the camera can show it. You see this is over 6%. Over 6%. This is in red. Okay, let me do it. Okay, this is over 6%. This means danger. This means danger to apply an epoxy. So what you have to do? Choice number one, waiting. 1 week, maybe 2 weeks. In Southeast Asia, the humidity level is very high. So it does not help the concrete to dry out. So it can take quite a long time. So you may not have this time available. So you have a possibility is to apply this Sika Floor 81 Epoxy. This material, you apply first a primer coat, you wait maybe 15-20 minutes, we will not wait that long this time, and then you apply this material. You will see it's a 3-component material, and you apply 2 millimeter thickness. You need this 2 millimeter thickness to have a moisture barrier. What is the result? This has been applied yesterday. It's 4.2%. And actually, because the humidity is still high, if we would be waiting a little bit longer this afternoon, we would be under the 4%. Okay? But you see from this over the limit, probably 8% to less than about 4.2, 4.4%. And if you have this 4%, then you can go ahead. I have to admit that this is a bit too young. We normally recommend you apply the epoxy on the minimum 3 days old concrete. It's not only a question of moisture, it's also a question of concrete strength. Okay? So, but when you have this condition of humidity, after only 1 day or maybe 18 hours, then you can go ahead with your epoxy. This is the primer coat, the scratch coat of the epoxy, that you follow with the top coat of the epoxy. So this product, one thing is that I mentioned moisture barrier. It actually should be mentioned temporary moisture barrier. The reason is that this moisture is low. If you leave the product like this, and if you have some moisture rising like this, the moisture will rise. And if you wait too long to overcoat it with an epoxy, then you lose the benefit. But the purpose of this is always to be overcoated with an epoxy. So when we say temporary moisture barrier, is to make sure that we apply the product and soon after, maximum 5 days after you do the epoxy. But typically you use it because you want to save time. So you apply it and typically the day after you apply the epoxy. If you do this, then you are sure that your epoxy will absolutely cure properly and you avoid the problem of blisters, bubbles, okay, blisters. These are coming from osmosis problem from moisturizing. So this is really a problem solver. We can use it on new construction. Sometimes we use it on existing construction. They have used an epoxy, there is blister because of moisturizing. You remove everything, go down to the concrete, apply this one, apply an epoxy again, and no problem. So we do it now. We do the primer coat. So the primer coat is actually just a thin seal coat. So by the way, this is the product that it looks like. It's a 3-component. The name, EpoCem. Epo is like epoxy. This is the A and B component part. Cement is the same part. So this is the bag which contains cement, some special additives. So this product is so unique because the cement, like water, so if you have moisture in your concrete, the cement will take this moisture to dehydration. And beside that, the epoxy A and B part give the quick hardening and give the good adhesion of the next epoxy coating. So this is a product which has been developed in Europe in our headquarters in Germany and Switzerland for about nearly 25 years ago. And this product in the world, most of the companies selling these materials, a lot of them are in Southeast Asia. Why that? Because many factories, they are built on a very high level, water table level areas. And the concrete, you have rising moisture everywhere. So our colleague in Malaysia, Indonesia, and obviously Thailand, we are selling a lot of this material because of this reason. Many people, when they build and when we make a proposal, we say, we have this system. They say, we don't need it. We have time, the concrete we dry, we don't need it. So we propose this as an option. Because obviously it's an extra cost. But we propose this as an option from the beginning, and most of the time we say we don't need it. And later on, there are delays. And then they need it. So, typically we apply this material if the concrete is very porous, and if as soon as you apply the product it disappears, then you apply 2 coats. Okay? Normally 1 coat would be enough. And normally we would wait, I would say 15-20 minutes. If you apply less than 2, the moisture barrier effect will not be effective. You need 2 millimeter minimum. The product, you may think it looks good. Yes, it looks good. It's not intended to be left like this uncoated. If you want, I mean, it's not an issue, you can leave it like this. But most of the application is always overcoating. But if you have a process area which is wet, can be dangerous. It can be too slippery. But we have ways to make it non-slip if you want to, additionally. So, please understand the conditions are already good for such a demo, but if we would do an epoxy floor, obviously the area should be totally tight. No rain, no wind, no dust. Because this kind of floor, if you have actually such a dust or rain, or even insect, this will stick to this still fresh material and you end up with not a perfect finish. We are doing application nearly outside. Alright. So what we do, we label the material. And then we use spike roller. This roller here, wait a minute, show me. Maybe some of you know the spike roller. Many of you must have seen spike roller. You probably have seen the plastic one. Now we use more and more the steel metallic one. The reason is that they spike when we apply. We recommend, you can check the thickness by the consumption. You know how many square meter, how many kilo per square meter with the density. You can also use a small tool to check the thickness. Here is a bit over, it's about 2.5. About 2.5 mm. 2.5 mm. Alright, so we go ahead. You see the product labels much better. Looks a bit glossy because it's still fresh. It will turn to be matte after when dry. So we have that steps. Typically tomorrow I check the moisture about 4%. That's okay. I can go with my primer. That's the primer. The primer is actually a simple one. It's just clear resin, unpigmented, not very expensive, just to seal the surface. Very important. But then it's the top layer. So we show you a product. We have a Sika Floor 263 SL, 264, which can be used as a self-leveling layer. We will apply about 1.5 millimeter thick. You ready, guys? That's the type of cell we are using. Typically 0.1 to 0.3 millimeter cell. So we have, this is one grade. This is the very general high performance grade of epoxy, Sika Floor 263 SL. If you have some, which we can do already a lot of application, even in some clean rooms, not the highest standard of clean rooms. If you have some clean rooms which has even higher requirements in terms of lower VOC emission, in terms of low particle emission, we have similar product but different type of resin, especially for this type of higher grade. This has good chemical resistance. If you have a floor, a concrete floor, maybe very nice, very flat, very burnished, you may have some chemical limitation, obviously. If you have acid, if you have some, especially acid and some other solvent, so you may need a material which has a good chemical resistance. So I was saying this is going to be smooth, very smooth. But if you want to make it very rough, but still using all the properties of this, you could eventually use a sand, but a bigger one, also dry, and do a full broadcast to really don't be able to see any more of this resin, a full broadcast of sand. But thereafter you remove the excess of sand and you do a roller coating, and you have a very textured surface. And this would be suitable in wet areas, even in car parks. So again, this is perfect if most of the area gonna be dry. Because if it's wet, it will be a bit slippery, that's for sure. Any question? Curing time. Okay, by this temperature and the humidity, first of all this curing time, the time you can step on it, light traffic and so on, is written in the data sheet at different temperature. Typically here, the day after yes, typically 24 hours, you would be able to step on it, but very lightly. But traffic would be not before 3 days, light traffic before 3 days, and full traffic after 5 days. Okay, Jan, I think we are done. If no question, any question? So we also check the thickness here. Between 2 and 2.5. You see, there's the mark at 2, there's no mark at 2.5. So it means the application thickness is between. Alright, thank you very much. Thanks for your time.